Hey everybody, welcome to From the Shed. I'm Todd Foster, and this is my dad, Roger. Hi, Dad.
Hey, how's Slim?
So, hey, listen, I was up here at my mom and dad's at their farm, over the weekend, and I've been waiting to do this episode for a really long time. Actually, when I thought about doing From the Shed, this was the episode or the idea that I thought about doing. You should feel really privileged, Dad.
Yeah, I am. Yeah, this is a dirty shit, but
Yeah.
yours is a lot cleaner.
I don't know about that. So, couple things. I can remember you making stuff all the way from when I was a little kid.
Well, we spent a lot of time, making furniture and making knickknacks and just doing things for different people that they wanted.
I remember the time when I'm sure you made stuff like growing up, but I remember like the time like our garage barn. We lived like somewhere else, and now we live on this farm. But I remember back then, your shop, you started making decoys for goose hunting.
Oh yeah, we had silhouettes and decoys that we made,
Yeah.
carved decoys, and then we also had silhouettes made out of masonite, and then we painted them up and put legs
Yeah.
on them.
And then you started making like Adirondack chairs and
Right.
like all kinds of stuff.
Settee, Adirondack chairs. We're working on some tables now, remodeling some things.
Yeah. So now he makes legitimate furniture, and I make like little stuff. I picked it up a little bit. My shop is not like a functioning woodworking shop like this one, so I love it. I love being in here. Grateful, Dad, for you making stuff and letting me make stuff with you. So hey, listen, the topic that I want to talk about is something that probably any grandkid and like extended cousins, everything could say. What's Pop Pop always say? This is Pop Pop. What would they say?
Builds character.
Yes, builds character. All right, second thing, he would say legacy. Like that's the most important thing. What kind of legacy are you going to leave? And so I wanted to talk about that because, I come from a long line of followers of Jesus, especially on your side of the family. And so I wanted to talk about that a little bit. But this is for everybody because it doesn't matter. I know you would say this. It doesn't matter where you are in your journey. It's your turn to carry on a legacy.
That's right. Yep. You have a responsibility. You remind me of this from time to time. It's a privilege. We get to do this, and that's the important thing. That you have a responsibility to show your children and show your grandchildren what it means to be a follower of Christ, and that's important because if you skip a generation, it's not good.
Yeah. So growing up, you remember watching your parents, your grandparents.
Yeah, absolutely. My dad was a real stalwart. People have asked me before sometimes, not a lot, but they'll say, "Who's your hero?" And I said, "Hey, it's my dad." It's because of what he showed us, how it was to be. Did we always like it? No, but we loved him, and he showed us the direction we needed to go. And I'm a third generation follower of Christ. Todd's a fourth, and his children are fifth. So that's the legacy, that's the responsibility that we were given, and we have to transfer and send on to others.
Yeah. Man, that totally, like when you just said that about Pop, I was like, I totally feel like that about you, Dad. I love you so much. Yeah. Man, I can just say the same thing. Like, we do Gratitude Tuesday on Facebook from the shed and stuff. And I think like the well of that in my heart is from like, when you say you should carry a legacy on, there's so much behind that. Like, there is gratefulness for what you've been given, for the love that you have for your family. There is like, what I think of as like forward thinking. Like you're thinking of like my kids, Maddie, Lily, Parker, and like my sister's kids. Like you're thinking of their kids.
Yeah.
And you care about, even though you haven't met them yet and you don't know them, Like I feel like that. I feel like you're like, guys, you need to think about like who's coming down the road because it's going to be your job one day to steward this.
Well, we prayed. Your mom and I prayed. Long before you even thought about getting married, about having the right person for you and for Michelle, and we prayed for the kids as well, the grandkids. Hey, there's a right person that God has set aside for them, and we just need to pray that they'll find that right person and carry on that legacy.
Yeah, see, the cool thing is a gift that, like, it's like a gift that I'm unpacking as I get older.
Yeah.
Because now that I hear you say this stuff, like, I didn't know that was happening in all my, like, stupidness as a kid. Like, I made you earn your money. But now that I'm older, like, I hear stories about my pop. Like, my pop used to just come and, like, show up. I live the closest to your dad, my grandfather, so I would go see him. I cut his grass. But, I mean, I had, like, 50 cousins. I had a lot. And my dad's one of 7. And, like, Pop used to go visit and spend time with all the kids, whether it was riding in a combine with one of them. And, like, now that I'm older, I know he was purposely doing that.
Sure.
He would tell me, like, was never hard on me about my faith, but he would be like, Todd, the only way this is going to work out is if you trust God. Or, he would just drop these little hints and stuff. I'd roll my eyes and be like, I love you, Pop. And now I know that, like, he was building a legacy.
Right.
He was intentionally spending time with everyone in the family in hopes that, like, what he was sowing into the family would turn into something.
And it did.
It did.
Only because he was consistent and
Yeah.
kept at it.
Yeah. I will say that's one of, like, I got to spend so much time with him. So I don't regret, because I would cut the grass and then sit on the porch and hang out. But I didn't start following Jesus until after all that. And I would have loved to have been able to say to Pop, hey,
Look what happened to me.
look what happened to me. Or, like, God was writing this story in my life, and I wish I would have told you.
Yeah.
I wish I would have said
He
something.
knows.
I think he does know.
He knows.
I think he does know. Yeah. What would you say to someone who's, raising a family? What would you say to them about legacy?
Well, we shared this when my oldest brother passed away. You don't have to wait to start. Today is day one. Mm-hmm. You can make a concerted effort to say, hey, this is what I want for my life, and this is what I want for my children and for my grandchildren, even if you don't have any. Someday you may, but you have to make a concerted effort, and you have to trust that, God's going to show you the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Mercy and grace. We talk about that. You always ask me, what's my favorite song? I say,
Your grace still amazes me.
Yeah.
Phillips, Craig, and Dean. It's funny, like, legacy is so much more caught than taught,
Oh, yeah. You can't sit down and say, okay, now you got to do this, you got to do this, you got to do this. You can, but if you show them what it means to grasp those concepts, to grasp those characteristics, then they begin to understand, hey, these things are important. These do mean something to me. And, when they start to share those with your children and your grandchildren and even those other people that, you want to be an influence on so that they can, their family, it's just not isolated with us. You want their family to be part of it too. Mm-hmm. And, we have people coming and going here at the farm all the time who just like to show up and spend time, and that's great. And the influence we want to have on them is the same we have in our family. This is why God gave us this place.
Yeah. And, part of this is like I get to publicly brag on my dad. And when I say I was difficult, there are past episodes about my story. And, like, I've been on a bell curve, man, of, like, making it hard. I would have been at the top of the list, man. Really hard. And so when I look back at those things and, like, how you guys handled me, how you handled life, like character, integrity. It's just the everyday way that you and Mom have lived. That when I got into my 20s and I was like, what's gonna matter? Am I like I'm gonna consider who God is and all this stuff. By that point there was no question to me. You guys had peace and joy and like a consistency. There was no this like, when you're young, man, you just want this like crazy awesome life and all this stuff. And
It's all over the place.
but I think when it like the dust settles and you grow up some, you're like, what you want is a good, faithful, consistent life filled with like gazillions of moments that make it rich and strong, make it family, make it legacy, make it all that stuff. And I'm just so thankful you and Mom, have done that. I feel like I will spend the rest of my life like living up to that, truly. I thank you. You have some like massive shoes. Literally, he wears a size 14.
Well,
But I have like huge shoes to fill, and I could not be more thankful.
well, you'll be able to do it. I mean, it changes as you get older. What you're thinking about and what you want to leave behind, and obviously you want to take care of your family physically and monetarily as much as you can, but it's 10 times more important that you take care of them spiritually, and so that they know no matter what happens, it's okay.
Yeah,
It's okay.
Yeah. It's awesome. Well, I always wrap it up by praying for them, that God would help them with whatever we're talking about. So would you pray for their legacy?
Yeah. Lord, we just thank you so much for just a short period of time that we can talk to those no matter where they are. And Lord, give them strength, give them peace of mind. Just help them to understand that legacy is much, much more than the physical and the monetary things you leave behind, but it's who you are and who your family understands. And Lord, we just look to you to be able to do that. We thank and praise you for your mercy and grace every day. We ask this in your name. Amen.
Amen. Awesome. Thanks, Pops.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it. All right, see you guys, man. Lean in, make a legacy.